Today I'm going to be talking about my map, Ooey2, that I've worked on for a long time. I've been meaning to make this video for a while, and I think it'd be a cool topic to go over the process of making the map, all the different changes that happened over time, and really just what goes into the whole philosophy of making a map, and learning to do it. Because to be honest, I wasn't very good at mapping when I started with this map, and over the process of making the map, I learned a lot. So you're gonna see that in the footage here. So before we even get to that, Ooey2 is called that too because it is like a quote-unquote sequel to another map I made, which is the original Ooey2. And this map is just straight up bad, to be completely honest. It has a lot of problems. It's just got like weird design choices. Like, as you can see here, this weird building that is completely useless. It's got just bad geometry that looks ugly, and it's confusing. This map, I think the worst offender out of this, other than it just being a not very fun map, is that you can completely walk past the second point. In fact, it's much easier to walk past the second point than it is to actually go find the second point. So it basically was a 3CP map with a point that you could never find. It's very choky too, something that kind of stayed in the map. Being choky was kind of intentional with these maps. For this first map, Ooey2, I don't think anything was really intentional. I just think I didn't know what I was doing really. But yeah, just being able to walk past the entire building that has the second point in it and go straight to the midpoint is pretty awful. There's like no doors to push into second with at all. There's one door, literally. Yeah, pretty awful. It like breaks all the rules of mapping. But there was some stuff that I wanted to keep, like the midpoint, and the surrounding area around midpoint, with this balcony, and then that building next to it where you can jump onto that building and then jump onto the midpoint, and the roof that you can jump on and shoot down into mid from. I thought that was all fun, and I thought I should keep it, so I decided that this map was pretty horrible. Even at the time, I knew it was horrible, so I decided to rebuild it entirely from the ground up, because it desperately needed that, and it needed playtesting. Because playtesting, you can't just go into a map and make it and detail it and throw it out there without ever playtesting it. That's just a really bad idea because the map's going to be horrible. So what you need to do is go get it playtested, iterate, and you gotta refuse the urge to art pass it, because art passing it is only going to make it more difficult to change the layout and stuff. So you want to keep it a gray grid as long as you can. Even in this older map here, you can start to see the DNA of the map start to form with the final point, and a lot of things just kind of stayed the entire time and never changed because they didn't really need changing, or they felt like they were kind of I wouldn't say iconic, because it's not like anybody knows this map, but I guess iconic in my brain, you know what I mean? Like, it's the DNA of the map. So now we're going to move on to the first alpha of the map here, and this is the block out. It still has a lot of problems going on. I still didn't really know what I was doing. You can see the last point here is like kind of it's very small, and that little side push area was not good at all. This cave here actually went pretty much unchanged for the entire. I mean, I did change minor things, but the general layout of the cave pretty much stayed the same all the way through. And there's a lot of experimentation going on here. You'll see in the next few versions on last year, but so yeah, very basic spawn with 2 doors that are right next to each other. Kind of weird, but not necessarily a bad choice. We have this very small last, which, you know, we have this weird pushing in. This is just, I imagine this was just horrible to push in. I don't really remember how these playtests went, or if I actually even got some of these play tested, but you can start to see the map form. We got the second point here, very basic. Yeah. So the idea behind this map, as I was saying before, I did want it to kind of be choky. We have this area up here, yeah, the sniper area. This map was kind of supposed to be like a Dust Bowl-like kind of environment to a certain degree, with the pushing through the caves and stuff, and then pushing into last. It's kind of supposed to be choky, like I said. We have the midpoint here. The midpoint didn't change at all. Like the actual building. Show off this sniper area here. This sniper area was kind of ridiculous. I don't know why I added it. I guess just because there wasn't a place for sniper to really be. But it was useless and really weird. I don't think it really added anything. I did put that grate there specifically so that you could get shot by stickies while you're camping that area, but it just doesn't flow very well. It doesn't really add anything to the map in terms of flowing. Like, it isn't very something you would see in a 5CP map, I think. So it makes sense. Yeah, that sightline is pretty atrocious. You can see all the way to the other side of the map. So yeah, this is just not that great. You know, experimenting. You know, trying to add new things, trying to test things out, but it didn't end up panning out well. So that's why I ended up cutting it. It stayed in for a longer amount of time than I remembered. I actually forgot a lot about this map. I added spawn rooms. The previous map didn't even have forward spawns, which is also pretty atrocious. Imagine having to walk all the way from fucking last to mid every single time you died. And there's probably not a respawn timer either, so you had to wait 12 seconds every time too. Pretty awful. Now we're gonna move on to A3. I don't know what happened to A2. Probably bugged out or something. Probably there wasn't a significant enough change for me to upload it onto TF2 Maps. I actually lost all of these files, so I don't have them anymore. I had to go download the maps off of the TF2 Maps website because I uploaded them to there at the time and was getting them play tested. So, and I honestly, you know, this was such a long time ago that I don't really know what the hell was going through my brain at the time, other than, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. So we are playing the A3. You can see I added this weird rock formation, and then we go into last, and it's like I added this platform above. I remember this actually being pretty fun. I actually completely forgot about this, but when I saw it again, I was like, oh yeah, this was actually fun because you could put a sentry up there. It was more interesting than not, I would have to say. Yeah, I don't really know why I removed that. Honestly, that might be an improvement over just having the last be very... well, I might not be an improvement, because last is still, either way, I think, going to be a tilt box. So I started to mess around in the cave area here. This is the update that I added the death pit here. Death pits are always funny and good, so we love death pits. Who doesn't love a good death pit? Here at second, I added this little cubby, which is kind of useless and dumb, but I guess better than just being forced to hold the point with no ammo or health packs. I don't know. I don't think there's any differences up in the sniper area here. I think it's the same, yeah. I don't think the health pack was there. Yeah, so mid stayed the same pretty much through the entire development process. Mid is good. It's probably the best part of this map. Period. Any version of it. you can see that buggy. Yeah, this map is very buggy. A lot of these, I bet a lot of these updates were just because I needed to like fix a broken door or something like that. Because I remember that being a problem with a lot of the different versions of the map, is that like a door didn't work, and then people would spawn in and be like, I can't leave spawn. And then the moderator of the playtest would just be like, okay, we're not playing this map anymore, which is pretty funny looking back on it. Okay, I think we're on A4 now. So, out of this trash bag, very cool, very important addition right there. So this was the first time I really attempted a flank. You can see this detailing that I put here. These computers, I actually ended up using them somewhere else in the map. The computer room in the final version of the map, it's like an outside decoration. But yeah, that flank was the first time I really experimented with that flank, and that flank was something I kind of added and removed over and over again, because pushing through the cave is kind of the intended way to go. But at the same time, you can't just have the cave be the entire area that you push through, because it's a little bit too tough to push through. But since I added that flank, this is a problem kind of up until the final version of the map, it kind of persisted, was that you would just push through that smaller flank, and it would be much easier to push through there and much quicker to push through there than to push through the cave, which is the intended way to go. So that's why I kind of mess around with that. I added this railing here, which I ended up removing because it all became metal stairs. This grate here, which I think is nice because if you're standing on top of the grate, you can see something below you dropping your off back. Doing some jumps. I did consider jumps when I was making this map. I feel like a good map has good jumps. This map has an enormously large skybox. Maybe not the tallest in the game, but definitely tall enough that you could do whatever you really wanted to do in terms of jumps and stuff. Actually, I think you can see like into the fucking caves and stuff like that when you do jumps, even in the final version of the map. So yeah, so Alpha 5, we have this weird last, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking here, where you have this weird building where you can do that, and then there's this cave area that's just kind of floating, and you can see the bugginess there. I guess this was an attempt to like stretch out the flank and make it take longer so that it wasn't the de facto way to go, which is kind of weird. This is a weird decision because I think the blue team pushing out here, out of the flank and pushing onto second should be the intended way to go, because that makes way more sense. Like, blue team being able to push onto second should be fairly easy for blue team because, you know, they're defending, and that'll create kind of a back and forth motion. So it should be easier for blue team to push out than it should be for red team to push in, because otherwise blue team would just be stuck at final and they wouldn't be able to push out. I remember that being an issue, you know, and then you kind of stalemate in the cave. So yeah, that's something I kind of experimented with throughout the history of the map. Was really trying to get this cave area to feel... The cave area itself always felt good. You know, I did minor changes, but it felt good. But everything around the cave was the problem. You know what I mean? Because then you wouldn't ever go into the cave. You know, it'd be no reason to. It'd be completely useless. So this is the first change I made to the sniper decks here, is extending it out and making it open. I think this is maybe better than just the sniper decks, because at least you could, you know, bomb in as the soldier and do that, and then push in. It's still pretty useless. It doesn't really accomplish anything. And yeah, it's just weird design choices. You can really tell that I didn't know what I was doing in terms of layouts, because none of this makes any sense. It doesn't solve any issues. It doesn't these aren't like improvements on the last version. I was just kind of throwing shit at the wall and seeing if it sticked. Okay, Alpha 6. Add this weird bridge here. I don't know what the hell the point of this was. I guess so you can be a sniper and watch the cave, I guess. Still pretty useless. Weird detailing here. I mean, I fixed the bug of being able to see into the cave, but now you can just see the whole map. Yeah, you can see pretty much all the way to mid almost. From there, it's pretty bad. Change this area to make it flow a little bit nicer, I presume. Yeah, this whole area is pretty bad. Some weird detailing here. And then we could start to see the development of this flank area start to take place here with this window. So eventually this window to door combo would just entirely be the flank, and I would get rid of the sniper area. But yeah, you can start to see that develop. And then there's this window here. So this is a point that I wanted to talk about, because this is something that I've recently... I'm making a pro version of this map. So this video, I'm just going over the whole process to get it to the, final version that I put out on the workshop, because the pro version I'm working on isn't done yet, and I'm still playtesting it. But what I wanted to say is that this flank here, quote unquote flank, it's so small and doesn't really serve a purpose other than just give you cover that it's kind of just useless. And what I did later on in the pro version is it connects to the computer room area instead of just connecting directly to the balcony. So having it connect directly to the balcony makes it like the shortest flank ever. I don't even know if it's considered a flank, and that's one of the things that I kind of added and removed over and over again through the map's history. I do think that having a third place to push from into mid is a good idea. Like, you shouldn't have only 2 lanes in the mid. I mean, it does feel like quote unquote classic, like Dust Bowl or whatever, where it's very choky, tight. You know what I mean? While still having a high skybox that you can bomb in from. So I do think it's fun, but I think having that third, place you can push in from is pretty important, because that means you can have a spy or something like that sneak around. Like, if you only have 2 ways you can go, then it's like pretty much impossible for a spy to do anything, because they're just going to get blown up or bump somebody. So that's kind of the reasoning why I had to add that flank, and I feel like it made the map go by a lot faster. So in this version, what is this? Is this 8? Because I don't think there was a 7 yet. 7, I think, was bugged. Like, I compiled it, and there was something wrong with it. I don't know. So you can see I started to detail the map. It probably was a little early to be detailing anything, but you can start to see the final form of the map start to take shape here. A lot of the detailing that I did here ended up staying. You can see this building I added. That stayed in the final version. Yeah, so there's a lot of time between Alpha 6 and 8. I think that was like the biggest gap in time. I guess the biggest gap in the development cycle. Because I was probably just busy detailing the hell out of the map for no reason. We have this, I think this is the first time we really did the final version of this flank here, which, like I said, even up until the final version, I wasn't really happy with. We have this janky box platforming into this room. Yeah, that pushing in wasn't very satisfying, and still had that problem up until the final version, because it would be much easier to push through that flank than the cave, which was not the intended result. I added this stupid building. I don't know why I ever added this. It's entirely useless. You could shoot down on second from this building. I don't know why adding a building that you can't get into without using demo, scout, or soldier. I don't know what the hell the point of that was. I don't think that really improved anything. There's this weird rock that's janky. That's very cool. You know, put a janky rock right next to the second point so that people get caught on it and die. That's really fun. There's another big stupid rock here. That's completely useless. That side area, that side building with the ammo crate in it is supposed to be like engineer bait, so that you see it go, oh, that's a big metal pack, and then you go pick it up, and then you put a sentry next to it, so that you can watch the cave doors with a sentry, and it'll kind of block people from pushing into last, which isn't that great. Honestly, last I wasn't really happy with either for a long time, and you know, it's just kind of a kill box. Like, everyone just goes in there and kills each other and dies over and over again. Another thing I had to change a lot through the development process is the capture times. This map would stalemate very often, and I think it was just that the map didn't flow very good, and the capture times were way too long. I think quicker capture times means you can cap and push in a lot faster and have less deaths, so more of your team is alive. And therefore, because more of your team is alive, you can keep that momentum and push into the next area. A9, Alpha 9. So this is the first version I added this side area here. It makes more sense to push out of like a different height than to just put two doors next to each other. So this is like, it has a slight bit of variation to it. I don't think anyone ended up using that door in playtesting. I don't think anyone ever used that door. Maybe just because they didn't see it. It's kind of behind you when you spawn in, so I kind of get why you wouldn't see that. But I still think it's better than just having two doors right next to each other. At least it's kind of gives you a little bit of variety. I cleaned up this cave a little bit, made it a little bit nicer to walk through. See this? There's some weird detailing choices. You got that weird rock, and then you have the leaves from the trees above clipping through. That's pretty funny. Yeah, a lot of detailing here. I was probably way too keen on detailing. Add that health pack there. Extended that room out. It's a lot bigger now. Kind of cleaned up the balcony a little bit. Yeah, so the second point is still pretty much the same. This update, I don't think there's that much going on in this update, to be honest. Other than just fixing the cave. I think people were going through the cave and probably thought it sucked. You can see more leaves there. That's great. But, you know, the aesthetics don't matter. I really should have waited to, you know, I love art passing. It's like my favorite part of mapping. So, I was pretty excited to just get, you know, to the art passing. Well, I should have probably focused on the actual gameplay. Well, here we have the spawns. I think in this update I added these windows so you can see out of spawn, but people couldn't see into spawn, which is good. You know, because then you can see, oh, am I gonna get blown up immediately if I walk out of spawn? You know what I mean? So it's like kind of prevents spawn camping a little bit. So another point I wanted to make is that this map is somewhat inspired by Phoenix to a certain degree. Like, I don't think it's inspired really. I don't think it took anything. I didn't really take anything in terms of like gameplay. It's mostly just that they used this red rock with the alpine trees. And I think that's a good combo. And definitely saw it in that map. It's like, this would work good in a 5CP map with a little bit of. This map is kind of like a mix of the alpine. Look at that cool Z fighting. That's awesome. This map has like a mix of the alpine and I guess Badlands is what you'd say. You know, color palette and you know, prop selection, I guess. So it's a mix of both of those, and I think it does it pretty well. you know, Phoenix kind of did it to a certain degree. I definitely put in a little bit more Badlands, like it's leaning a little bit more towards Badlands, and you know, it has other like it even has some island props, but I think everything meshes well. You got this cover added the second. Second was just too plain for a long time, and it didn't play test well because people could kind of just spam it out. So this cover really added a lot. As you can see, it covers up an entire player model, so you can kind of just stand there. I've playtested this map a lot with bots because I think that's a really good way to like get like it's almost like a half playtest because real human beings are gonna find, you know, stuff in your map that bots aren't gonna be able to find. Obviously, bots don't really know anything; they just kind of walk around. You can see this useless detail added here. This is not very good. I guess it was supposed to be cover, but it's not. I don't know. It just kind of disrupts the flow. I don't really know why I added that. But yeah, as I was saying, bots are a good way to like get a little bit of a playtest going because then you could play the map yourself with the bots and kind of feel it out a little bit. You know, maybe test some sniper sight lines, that kind of thing. Added this stupid rock. I don't know why I added these rocks here. It's just not very good. We're getting really close to the final map here. Not that different. I'm walking over the grate. I added that grate as like a kind of warning that there might be a spy kind of walking into last. You might be able to hear it. I don't think that ever really played part in actual playtest. I don't think anything ever really happened because of that, but it's supposed to be because, you know, the grate walking sound effect is a lot louder than concrete, and I guess you could just walk around it too if you really wanted to. So it's not really that big of a deal in practice. Now we're going to beta 3 again, just skipping a complete fucking build. I guess something went wrong there. Okay, so this was in the last one. I never really talked about this. The entrance to the cave is like lifted up. I guess that was a few updates ago. I kind of missed that, but it adds a little bit of height variety to the last point that it didn't have before. And both of the exit doors to the cave here were like right next to each other, so it's basically one door. You know what I mean? Having it being at a different height and further away from the other door creates a little bit of, you know, push and pull. You know, you might go, oh, I want to build up here. Also, this spot, the second one. So that exit right there, you can put a sentry there, and it actually watches over. You can put, like, you know, a sentry as in, let's say you're red pushing into blue here. So you can put a sentry there, and it'll actually be a good, like, pushing in sentry spot. I didn't really think about that, but that's what I'm kind of getting at with the whole bot thing, is that you can figure out stuff like that just on your own without ever having it actually play tested in a server. Obviously, you need to actually get it play tested in your server, but it's like a good middle ground. Like I said, it's like half play test. You can like start working on it a little bit and like figure out, okay, this is just completely bonkers, this is broken, or whatever. You know, see a sniper sight line, that kind of thing. Yeah, so we have this spawn, which I moved from over here. I also changed the... this actually happened in the last update. This footage I got here, I got a while ago, and it's not very good. I just wanted to get it all done in one go. But yeah, this spawn here, it started out with me moving it over here, and then it was just one door and one window, and then I split it into two windows so that you can see a little bit forward and a little bit back, and you can have a better view of the whole area as you're leaving spawn. It also made it more different from the other ones. I didn't want it to just be a complete copy-paste job on every single spawn, because that's kind of lame. Probably not that big a difference gameplay-wise, though. Probably pretty much the same. Okay, now we're on Beta 4, which is the last one, I think, before the final version of the map came out. So yeah, these later versions, there's less and less differences every time we go from one to another, because it's getting close to the final version. So we're just kind of ironing out the kinks. This one I actually changed the the lighting and the skybox to hydro theming, which I think goes with it pretty well. I don't know which one I settled on in the final version. I think it was harvest. I mean, not harvest. I think it was hydro, but I think I toned down the lighting a little bit because at the time I wanted to make this feel like really hot. You know, you can see some detailing changes, but the lighting really changes the whole vibe of the map, I think. I don't know what update they added there. You can see a skateboard in the. I put some Easter eggs in the little locker there for you to find. There's a gibbous in there too, which I thought was a neat little Easter egg. Okay, you can see I'm really starting to work on the art pass here. You can see the gravel in the cave here. But, you know, minor differences, really not that big of a deal. This wood here really cleans it up, makes it a lot easier to get into there for most classes. You can still see the Z fighting on those props there. That's really cool. But yeah, just moving props around, stuff, adding stuff like this. I don't know why I removed that. Is that in the final? I think that was buggy. I think one person would see the props still there, you know, that kind of thing. Created bugs. So these windows here, I don't know why I added these. I immediately removed these because these look pretty bad. I think those window props need to be like kind of off in the distance. They can't really be like up in front of your face like that and look good. You have this weird. I'm noticing a lot of stuff that like is not in the final map because, but I'm not exactly sure where I put it in. But you know, as you can see, it's basically the final map. I mean, just I wonder. Okay, that's floating there. I know this like specific little spot had a little bit of bugginess going on. I guess I didn't add that yet. That must have been either in the update before this or after. Is that there was a broken wood fence that was like clipping through the wall in the cave there. So now we're on the final version of the map. I'm gonna hype this up a little bit because I need this to be a like good conclusion for the video's sake. We're on the final version of the map, which is the one that's on the workshop right now that you can go play. And I wouldn't even call it final. You know, in my brain, it's not the final version of the map because I came back to it. But as you can see in the final version here, there's different lighting. I think this is actually upward lighting in the skybox here. You can see these detailing differences. It's mostly just like I said, just changes to the overall look. You know, changing the lighting, adding rocks and props and stuff. It isn't anything really major, and at this point, it was getting play tested, and it was like doing okay. People never really liked the last point, which is why I changed the last point to be completely different in the pro version. Just detailing this cave, adding like a little bit of lore there, like oh, it's a mining area. It's a mine. I always thought of it as cave, but people are calling it mine. Playtest. So I guess it is mine. And then that might have been why I added that mining part there. I don't really remember. But I kind of am interested to see what people would, if this map did get played on a pro level, or even just like on any level, I guess. But you know, if people were to like make call outs, I wonder what everything would get called. Because it's kind of interesting. It's kind of fun to hear what people make with call outs. You know, in different maps, they'll come up with like funny call outs sometimes. But sometimes it'll just be simple, like, oh, we're in cave, or mine, or balcony, or whatever, or last, you know. Pretty simple to understand. Computer room. That's what I would say, is like computer room. I guess this here would be playing, you know, interesting. I don't really have anything to say about this because it's basically just detailing and like ironing out bugs, you know. It's not very interesting. And I also don't know what bugs I was really ironing out. You know, I'd have to like go back and like really see the feedback to see what I was changing here, other than just visuals. But I think the leading up to the final version of the map, I was kind of just ready to get it done at this point. I didn't really care. I didn't want to go back and make like huge changes yet, which is basically what I'm doing with the Pro version. Making huge changes that like really change the map plays. So I think I was just done at this point. Like I didn't really want to work on it, and I was like satisfied with it. You know, it looked good, played decent, good enough for me because I've never really made a map for this that really played decent. So yeah, that was kind of why I just kind of dropped it. And you know, I didn't really drop it because it was a conscious decision. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like that I was suddenly not interested anymore. It was like, okay, you know, I have a job I need to. I'm missing these play tests because of that work. I got other shit going on. You know what I mean? I'd rather make money than work on the map. So you know, it was kind of that was kind of part of it. You know, and you know, just kind of when you work on something for so long, you just kind of want it to be done, even though you're not really satisfied with it. It's not like this last version. I was just like, okay, wrap it up, and I just kind of put it all together. You know, it takes a long time to kind of get to that point. So I was probably ready to finish the map like a couple updates ago. Probably like Alpha 8 or something like that. I was already like, okay, this is going to be the way the map is. I'll just iron out the bugs and stuff. Originally, I was going to make this a two-parter video where I would go over the original development from, you know, the original alphas to the release. But I decided, since I'm pretty much happy with how the map is going now with the Pro version, I don't think there's going to be that many changes between now and release. I still got to get it play tested and stuff, and I made some pretty big changes, so we'll see how those pan out. But I decided it would just be a better idea to kind of lump it all together because I didn't want to make like a super long video about one topic and then have a follow-up that's like super duper short. So I'm just putting them together. So yeah, you know, I'll probably end up making a map trailer anyway, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. So this is the event version of the map, which kind of you know, I was like, oh, I should just make an event version of the map, you know, and that way I can kind of come back to it. So this event version ended up kind of transforming into the Pro version over time. You know, there's a Halloween detailing, but you can start to see the whole rainy theme start to form, kind of playing around with it. And it's basically just a map with a bunch of Halloween props and spells and everything, which I think would probably play fine if I play tested it. And I might come back to this idea later, but it's also not that like crazy. You know, I think a Halloween map should be at least a little bit crazier than this. There should be something going on, maybe like a boss or I don't know, just more theming in general. But you can start to see some of the stuff in the Pro version start to form, like this one-way door. And this, I'm about to get to this flank area, so basically the same kind of flank area I was talking about where it's so small that it's basically useless. But I was playing around with the idea because I thought it's probably better than just having absolutely nothing. And at least in this Halloween version of the map, there is a reason to go there because there's a spell, so it kind of makes sense. But yeah, this is just kind of me messing around. It wasn't super serious, and I think it's kind of alright looking back on it. I might come back to this and make a event version one day. It might be fun. So now we started working on the Pro version. This is Alpha 1. This is probably going to be short. I thought it would be a good idea to just wrap this up with the whole video and make it one thing, because it would probably end up being like a 45-minute video on the original map and then like a 5-minute video on the new version, so I didn't want to separate it out like that. So for these first couple versions, it's just kind of me playing around with the vibe I wanted to go for. You can hear the rain, but it's still daytime now. I added the fog kind of as a just like, oh, I can add fog? Okay, I'll add it. And it's I probably went a little bit overboard with the fog here. But you know, it's just me trying to mess around, see what I can do. You have this flank here, which sucks. It's like the worst of both worlds. It's just not very good. You know, I'm just messing around here. This is me just trying to get back into the groove of mapping again, kind of. And this was kind of like I was working on another map, and this was kind of like this side project that I could kind of get used to stuff in and get back into art passing and stuff, you know, because the other map I was working on was very early in development, so I couldn't really focus on that kind of stuff. So yeah, you start to see a form with the one-way door in the flank. Then we go to A2, which is basically the same thing. Just playing around with the colors. I added this sign. I made this custom sign texture so that I can like explicitly say to the player, "This is one way." But for some reason, it's completely bugged. I don't know why. You could see it through walls and all that stuff. I don't know. VMT and VMF files just are whack sometimes. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing with that. Especially when it comes to transparency and that kind of stuff, because I don't have Photoshop, so I can't like export the file with the alpha layer in it. So I was just kind of messing around trying to turn a PNG into a texture, and to no avail. But I feel like since I just directly copied this door from Dust Bowl, I feel like most people who have played TF2 before can recognize, you know, what it is. Another funny thing about that door is that in playtesting, the logic, I copy-pasted them, right? So they're both the same door. First of all, it's the door from Dust Bowl, right? And then I copied it, pasted it in this map, and then I copied that one, pasted it again. And I didn't really think to mess around with it. And because of that, if you were on one team, you could go open your door, and it would open the other team's door. So in playtesting, people were like, "Okay, someone will go open that door," and they were like coordinating and like setting it up like that to open the other team's door so that they could make a push in the last, which was pretty funny. I'm not very good with logic. Pretty bad with logic, actually. Okay, so we're going to A3. And A3 is where I developed the actual flank here, and it actually like starts to form. And then in A4, I'm not going to show A4 because A4 is basically the same thing, where you know it adds the flank and everything. But I just cleaned it up and got it playtested because A4 was the one I got playtested here. So A3 didn't get playtested. So A3 and A4 basically the same, other than just like visual differences. Now we're going to go straight to A5, which is the most recent version of the map at this time, and has not yet gotten playtested. It's on the queue for playtesting, and I think this one's gonna play well because the feedback from the playtest I got was basically that last sucked and stuff like that, and you know the fog was too much, and obviously the doors were broken, stuff like that. So you can see a whole new last point here, new spawn and everything. You can see the actual point as soon as you spawn in, which was some feedback that I got. You know, you should be able to see the actual point when you spawn in. I removed this side area because now you have a lot more spawn. You don't need to go through there. This is already the right side spawn. We don't need to add another room to the right. But yeah, you have this left-hand side now. So you could push from both angles of the spawn. And I mean, you're going to be able to push on both sides of the last point, so you're going to be able to set up on both sides. It's not just going to be this weird, you know, go straight out and take a left turn immediately kind of thing. So hopefully it'll spread out the players a little bit better. And I made the last point a lot more open by destroying it. So I think that looks cool, and I think it'll probably play pretty good. Another thing you can probably notice is that there's rain particles. I wanted to get the ones from Sawmill working. I couldn't get it to work, or maybe I could have gotten to work, but I kind of didn't even really bother because I don't really know how those work. So I just used the Half-Life 2 rain, and I think it looks fine. I don't know. We'll see how people respond to it, I guess. And the doors here are fixed. You know, the flank is working and everything. I really just want to see how this last goes, because it's so much more open and stuff that I want to see how people play it. We added this sniper fence here, just because people would get sniped from that point, you know, on the balcony. And I think it's a little bit overpowered to just stand on that balcony and just shoot people coming out of the cave. So I didn't want to completely remove it because that's like one of the only things you could do as a sniper on this map. But at the same time, it wasn't very fun. So it's probably a good idea to throw a fence up there and kind of, you know, help everybody out a little bit. I changed the capture zone. So the capture zone was just that metal grate area before, but I think extending it out to the edges and as well as labeling it. In this version of the map, I actually labeled all the points. And I think that is going to help kind of the player be like, oh, this is the point I need to cap, you know. Made it a little bit more like Harvest, where you can kind of stand on top of the crates and, you know, lean up against the wall to capture, and I think that'll make it a little bit more hectic. It was mostly for visual reasons, so that you could see the door and immediately recognize, oh, that's the capture zone, and then be able to go in and capture it. These side buildings here, I increased the gap, so it's a little bit harder to make the jump, but I think people were complaining that that was a little bit too tight of area to push in, and you know, I agree, so I stretched it out a little bit, so it's a little bit harder to make the jump now. The only reason that it was ever that tight is so that you can make the jump as heavy relatively easily, but I don't think it's really necessary. So you could still make the jump as heavy, but you might have to crouch jump or something like that, which, I don't know. Crouch jumping is a weird thing because crouch jumping is like necessary to get to certain spots in TF2 maps, but I don't think it's a good idea to like make it a main gameplay thing where you have to crouch jump to get around, you know, because if you're like a noob, then like how are you going to be able to even get anywhere? So in conclusion, what is the conclusion here? I think I learned a lot over the process of making this map and updating it. I think that's really the main takeaway, you know, is that it takes a while to learn this kind of stuff, and you know, I would just say if you're a mapper, you should definitely mess around with ideas. You know, if something's not working, get rid of it. You know, try something different, experiment a little. You know, maybe take a break and come back to a project, because that's what I did, and I think it really changed my whole perspective on what is good and bad and such. So I'm waiting for this to get play tested. I'm probably going to show up for the playtest and, you know, test it out myself a little bit with everybody on the server. Hopefully it playtests well, and if it does, I think I might just finalize it. Like, I might just, you know, iron out whatever bugs or whatever might pop up and then just release it. So we'll see how that goes. And I think that's about it, really. That's everything I wanted to say. So I wanted to say thank you for watching. This is probably a pretty long video, I imagine. I don't know how long it's going to end up after I'm done editing, but it's still pretty long. So I hope you either fell asleep to this video or are doing your dishes or something and you enjoyed it. And if you did, like and subscribe, all that bullshit. Yeah, this is a different type of video than I usually make, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully you guys like it. And yeah.